Ms. Boebert, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Porter. I am very excited about this. Thank you to all the witnesses who came in and testified today. I'm just very, very excited to hear from all of you. And Mr. Smith, I have a lot of experience in the oil and gas industry. My husband has drilled for natural gas for 18 years now. And so I know what an incredible benefit it is to communities to be able to drill and not allow government to regulate us into poverty. You talked about the increase of economic growth that takes place when we are able to utilize those resources and extract those resources effectively and responsibly. And, you know, this gives communities a chance. It gives families a chance. My husband was homeless and came to Colorado with a trash bag full of clothes to start his life over again. And so we're so grateful for those high-paying jobs of utilizing American resources and really just liberating families. We have fire departments in our community that we wouldn't have had. We have community colleges that we wouldn't have, elementary schools. And then, of course, our local businesses all thrived from that. You know, it's interesting, you mentioned the hours of work that you work there, and I was doing the math, and some of that's about 13.5-hour days. There was 1 week where you work 95 hours, and that's fantastic. I too remember my first part-time job, and then, you know, the 2 weeks of working more than 100 hours, you know, it's about 12.5-hour days. You know, there's also a group of people who work similar hours in the Congo, except they're children, and they too aren't provided with the clothing adequate for their environment, for the weather conditions. They aren't even provided PPE like I presume you were provided on the drilling rig. In fact, they aren't even provided with shovels to mine cobalt in the Congo. And these are 40,000 children who are mining with their bare hands because America is outsourcing our energy to China and Africa instead of mining right here in America and creating American jobs and helping American families. And then, of course, liberating these children in the Congo. But with that, I would like to go into my statement. The Biden administration and House Democrats have waged an all-out war on traditional fuel sources and have endangered 10 million jobs supported by the American oil and gas industry. These partisan hacks talk out of both sides of their mouths and recently said pipelines are the safest way to transport energy. We've been saying that for years. Yet when it comes to American jobs and American energy, these leftists have prohibited all oil and gas leasing on federal lands and killed important projects like the Keystone Pipeline. But somehow, just yesterday, it was okay for these not in my backyard extremists to waive sanctions for a Russian pipeline for Putin's buddies. And these hypocrites and American last Democrats, they support this. Currently, Congressman Chip Roy and I have a discharge petition to bring H.R. 859, the Protecting American Energy Jobs Act, to the House floor. My bill nullifies Biden's job-killing climate executive orders, overturns the energy leasing ban on federal lands, and nullifies the revocation of the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. The discharge petition can be signed on the House floor during any session period, and I encourage members in this committee to sign today. I'd like to now ask a few questions of our witnesses. Mr. Epstein, it's great to see you. And let me start by saying I loved your book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. I also appreciate the talking points your website provides and even the weekly discussion groups that you lead. I'm very grateful for that. Now, Mr. Epstein, advocates of eliminating fossil fuels claim the unreliability of solar and wind can be solved through large amounts of batteries. Is this true?
Yeah, this is false. It has been promoted by Elon Musk, who says that all we need is solar plus some batteries. So I ran the numbers with Musk's own conservative battery prices, $300 a kilowatt hour, and have just 3 days of storage. You would need hundreds at $400 trillion, which is 4.5 times global GDP. So this is a complete fantasy that's justifying disastrous economic policies at home. And Musk and others should really explain themselves and really apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Epstein. The Biden regime claims that green jobs will easily replace any oil and gas jobs that are lost. Is this true?
In my written testimony, I explain why this is impossible. They're not nearly as productive. They're almost all based in China. And by raising the price of energy throughout all of America, they make every American job less competitive by making it expensive to do industry here and cheaper to do industry abroad.
Thank you, Mr. Epstein. Our time is up. I would love to follow up with you offline and ask you for further questions that I have of you, and I would be happy to post your responses.
Sounds great. Thank you, Representative Boebert.
Thank you very much. The chair now recognizes gentleman from Utah,